When we think of studying animals from the distant past, then we are drawn to this subject called paleontology, which allows us to understand, which allows us to know the history of ancient life, which is obviously preserved in the layers of sediments and rocks. And discovery of those remains has given us ample opportunities to understand the origins of life, the evidence of evolution, adaptations, migration of animals, and also, in the end, extinction, which is the most unfortunate, inevitable event on any organism's life that we have examined, we have been able to understand from the fossil world. So we are again reminded of this term of fossil. What is a fossil? What's the meaning of fossil? What's the etymology of fossil? In Latin, fossil is something from under the ground. And but then types of fossils are plenty. For example, we have pebbles which are coming out from dinosaurs or from different reptiles, such as even today's crocodiles. They swallow pebbles and throw away along with excreta. They are highly rolled, and they have been contributing and grinding the food which those animals whose teeth are not well developed, modified, are swallowing the chunks, and these stones are helping them out. And these their rolled pebbles are also called fossils. Bones, teeth are also fossils. Footprints of different dinosaurs are also trace fossils. At the same time, the mammoths, which have been plenty of such discoveries have been made over the last 2 to 3 or 400 years, 300 years I would say, from melting snows of Siberia. So we have a wide cross section of types of fossils, which are nothing but a ready reference to understand what kind of animals have lived around, how they grew, how they developed, how they moved, and what could have been the reasons of their death and possibly extinction when it comes to at a mass scale. But then again, it looks like as if this is all within the realm, within the discipline of geology, but when paleontology examined, studied within the period of Pleistocene, it becomes very, very relevant to archaeology, where prehistory, Stone Age ecology, Stone Age environment, the source of food for the early man, these many animals such as elephants, cattle, buffalo, deer, hippopotamuses, rhinoceroses, all different types of mammals are brought to attention because their fossils have been discovered from practically many of those fossil bearing horizons across the length and breadth of India. And if you try to look for the history of fossils in India, some very interesting reference we come across from the period of 1360 AD. 1360 AD, when for the first time in a volume called Tarikh-i-Farishta, the fossils were reported being dug out from canals as part of road constructions and many of those construction activities, where this Muhammad Farishta had talked about these. But when we push more in time, we go to this very interesting reference of Apollonius from the great well-known Neo-Pythagorean philosopher Apollonius, who traveled to India, who traveled to Himalayas, who traveled to foothills of Himalayas, right from Peshawar towards Himachal Pradesh, towards all these Himalayan foothills. He traveled and he wanted to meet the yogis. So Philostratus writes about the biography of Apollonius, where he says that uh, Apollonius talks of dragons living in this region, and these dragons are none but massive fossils from fossilized skeletons, skulls, teeth, jaws from rich fossil beds of shivaliks of northwest India. But we go to this, we owe all that research to two people in colonial times. One is Dr. Hugh Falconer, and another is Dr. Proby Cotley. These two great colonial natural historians began their survey, began their explorations way back in 1832. And with the result of their astounding discoveries, we got to know about the rich fossil potential of shivaliks of northwest India. Even when we come to this period of 1832, Asiatic Society of Bengal, the volumes of 1832, 1833, they all have published the articles on fossil discoveries from Narmada Valley, fossil discoveries from various parts of Shivaliks of northwest India. And when we move a little more in towards early 20th century, beginning of 20th century, the stalwarts like Pilgrim, Lydekker, all have contributed significant discoveries from the Narmada Valley, from Godavari Valley, from Karnool caves in Andhra Pradesh, and also from various sites in Chandrapur and other parts of central India. So these fossils have been one of the most significant sources of information with regard to understanding of ecology, environment, landforms, the biochronology, geochronology, the discovery of fossils for the first time, last appearance datum, all have been used to define the age of different layers of earth since last so many years of time by the geologists across the world. And when we move towards I would say when we move towards quaternary, that is 2 million years, 2.4 million years from today, that the relevance of paleontology in archaeology becomes very, very crucial, significant, with three perspectives. First is to understand the environment and ecology. Second is to understand the geobiochronology, as I said before. And lastly, the man-animal interaction. How animals in prehistory were all wild animals, a massive homogeneous, when I say homogeneous canvas, I mean to say all are wild animals, all are living in the most natural conditions, none of them are domestics. So all are absolutely, and the early man is at the mercy of those animals because man was struggling to cope with this environment with his limited knowledge, but again at the same time he has beautifully adapted to, carried on, marshaled against all odds. But at the same time, an artist in him was painting of beautiful animals along the rock shelters, and they are the immediate source. When the fossils stop appearing, I mean to say, when we stop finding fossils from geological horizons, it is the rock shelters which give us a beautiful canvas of prehistoric wildlife. So we can say from hard body fossils, we start traveling towards trace fossils. And from trace fossils, we move into the period which is again into proto-history, where domestication, taming, catching them young, domesticating, and later on, what scenario we have today of animals and man relationship, all has been attained over the period of thousands of years of experimentation. But this entire history is enriched by the animal world. So how animals are not just source of food for man, but also animals have been a perennial source of energy. and that energy, that animal world, from different perspectives from prehistory to history, provide us a very interesting ready reference to role of animals in archaeology, role of animals in human society. And then you can understand, you can realize how animals are important to not only ecology but also human society.